What's happening, people? It's another episode of the Giants, guys. Thanks for tuning in, people, because, like, what else would you be doing on tonight than hanging out with us? I have the truth in the building. He's also had the microphone issue, so I muted him until we get it right. Zane's in the building. And, of course, we promised you someone who actually knows about the draft and free agency more than we do. So we're bringing in Nick, who's the host of Big Blue Banter Podcast. Nick's all the way in Arizona. I'm not really sure why he's in Arizona, but it seems like a nicer place to be than New Jersey or New York. Nick, thanks for hanging out with us, and I hope you're well. Yeah, I'm on. I got you, Mike. Ready? Look, watch this. Unmuted. You're way too loud.
Okay, how do I sound?
All static. See? All static. Just turn yourself down. All right. He's working on that. Nick, how are you?
Craig, Zane, the truth. I'm happy to be here with you guys in New York Giants. You guys got excellent graphics, by the way. I don't know who your graphic guy is, but good job to you.
We can talk. We definitely can talk. Yeah, well, we do. I guess being the old man here, like, we put out some good content. We wrap it up to make it look kind of nice. I'd be more than glad to have my people get in touch with your people. But let's jump into some football, because, like, you mentioned before we started the show that, like, you woke up to, of course, Tyreek Hill getting traded. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Zane's blowing up my phone like, oh my God, did you see what happened today? So for all those crazy Giants fans, I'm going to start at the beginning, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with just talking a little bit about the free agent linemen, and then I'll turn it to you guys about who we're going to draft. Mike, I'm going to turn you back on. I'm going to give you a shot here. Ready? Everybody hold their breath. Let's see what I got. Oh, you're killing me. It's all static.
No good?
You have static.
I didn't say anything yet.
We can hear the static.
You're not seeing me?
Yes, we see you.
All right. I'm going to go pop out and try to come back in.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Rock and roll. Technical difficulties from the team. All right. Let me get the comments up because people are already jumping the room. Oh, my man Tuto from Italy is here. I love having my friends from Italy in the building.
Man. This
I see you. I see you, Jake. What's happening? All right. Okay. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4. Okay. Free agent linemen that have been signed. Okay, I've got Glewinsky, I got Feliciano, I got Douglas, and I got, if I pronounce it right, Gono. So, okay, let's start off with Glewinsky. Nick, you like him? I happen to be a big fan. Actually, my claim to fame is the fact that in January, I tweeted out that this would be the best guy to put in there because he's underrated. He doesn't cost a lot of money. And, he's blocking for the best back in the NFL. So, he's 6'4", he's 310. He's my favorite thing is that he's reunited with his offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson. Bobby Johnson knows how to get the best out of him. So, what's your thoughts on Glewinsky?
I love the Glewinsky edition, to be honest. He was one of those cheaper offensive. Excuse me, cheaper offensive. I'm gonna take a sip.
Take your time, baby. Take your time.
Look, it's the Giants, guys. This is what we do all the time.
It's I had almonds before, and it seems like it's scratching my throat. But I like the Glewinsky edition because he is a competent, smart offensive lineman. You're right. He was blocking for Jonathan Taylor the last 3 seasons. Well, two seasons because Jonathan Taylor was a rookie. But he was with the Colts, who are always known to have this good offensive line. But he's a gritty type of player who is inexpensive. And that's the position that the Giants put themselves in with the last regime. They don't have the luxury to go out there and spend big money on Brandon Sheriff. They don't have the luxury to go out there and add these big ticket free agents. They need to just get by with a lot of 1-year deals. Glewinsky was a 3-year deal, $18 million. That's pretty inexpensive for somebody who, honestly, going into his film, he was much more athletic than I expected. I thought he was going to be more of a bruising type of guy. Now, this is somebody you can run stretch zone or wide zone or kick him out on screens. He can get to that outside shoulder and he can hinge and seal and fan and do all of these different things. He's pretty mobile for an offensive lineman. So I think you can plug him directly into right guard right now, and he can be an option for the next 2 years, possibly 3 years if he lasts the length of that contract. But let's be real right here with the New York Giants. We're not in a competitive mode at the moment. We could possibly sneak up on some people this season. That's, plausible, but we're rebuilding right now. Daniel Jones is the perfect bridge quarterback to whoever is going to be the quarterback for the Giants going forward, whether that's in this draft or in future drafts. So you just need to bring in competency at the offensive line. And that's what I feel like they've done with specifically Glewinsky. We'll get into him in a little bit, and Feliciano. But Glewinsky is definitely the one that I look at and I say, this dude is the type of individual that we needed to get in free agency, because now we can go into the draft and not have a huge glaring need that has to be addressed, albeit the Giants still need to invest in the interior offensive line.
No, and Zane, I'm going to turn it to you in a second. My projection for Golwinski was, okay, hey, here's the guy who's one of the younger guys on the offensive line. He's kind of being overlooked because he's got a stud center and a stud other guard on the team, but it works, right? So I'm thinking, okay, he's priced fairly. He's pretty underrated and he's pretty cerebral. You bring him in here, then you give him his offensive line coach, which made him that good. Now what do we have? Now I think out of the 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive linemen, they said Glewinsky probably will be a day one starter. But here's the key, and Zane, I'm going to hand this to you. What have I been talking about for quite some time? The offensive line for the Giants was gifted a job the last 2 years. They had no competition. You came in, it was your job to have. Now, all we're doing is filling the bank back up because we're going to draft some guys. There'll be actual competition in camp. There will be guys fighting for the guard spot or the right tackle spot. For the last 2 years, it's like, Pert, it's your job, unless Solder comes back. Lemieux, it's your job. No one fought for a job. So you just settled on who we had. So I'm pretty sure Glewinsky will be the starter, but who knows who we draft, right? So I like the Glewinsky signing, Zane. I'm pretty sure you're pretty happy with this too because he's experienced young cat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, young in terms of life, but as far as the NFL goes, he's a grizzled vet, right? He's 30 at this point, so he's been in the game.
And a lot of snaps, by the way.
Yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
of snaps.
Which is good. It's okay to have professionals, right? You don't always need the young guy who's still getting accustomed. There is an adjustment period for this game. The levels change, the speed change. So it's good to have, professionals here. The great thing, and Nick has said it, you said, we're going to be competitive by media, right? You're supposed to say we're competitive. You can't just come out and say, hey, we're throwing our hands up. We're just giving up. It's a rebuild. You can't say that in this market. People will be upset. It's not Cleveland, no offense. It's not these smaller markets where you can endure and you're okay. This market is very, very demanding. So therefore, you have to say these things. So from that standpoint, I'm with Nick, I'm with you. We're absolutely rebuilding. It's about incrementally getting better. We didn't get vastly better, but you incrementally got better. Now, if you look at Will Hernandez and Golwinski and where he's going to plug in, right? As far as pass pro goes, they were both neck and neck. They were like 32 and 33. Neither of them are good. But if you look at the run blocking, he was 11th, Golwinski was. That vastly changes your ability to use Barkley, which is kind of the shiny toy.
Who, Barkley? Who's that?
This guy who mentally can't get over his injury, but he's back. He just needs to mentally get over it. So the issue with that is, and the great thing about that is, I think incrementally, like you said, competition's been brought up. There should be no you get the job, which we saw with Nate Solder. Nate Solder was cooked last season. Cooked. Filet mignon, well done cooked. I didn't want that steak, right? It was cooked.
Remember, we heard from Paul Dottino when we had him on. He said, literally, Judge called, Solder and said, please come back. I trust in you.
You're my guy, right?
But
you're my guy.
For all those people that thought Solder was just strolling back in to collect the paycheck, he was out. He was out until Judge called him and said, literally, I trust you. You're my guy. Please come back. So, we give him a lot of crap because he lost weight. He wasn't in football condition. He wasn't, and he sucked. We can say that. But I just always like to remind folks, he was not coming back. He was 80% out the door until Judge called him. So,
right.
All right.
So that's the networking thing, right? And that's the way you run. That's the way you run a bad business. You just hire all your friends.
And it's also an indictment. It's also an indictment on Matt Parrott too. who they spent a third-round pick, 99th overall on in the 2020 draft. And if Matt Parrott stepped in the training camp and took that job by the horns, it would have they wouldn't have been too eager to bring him back.
I want to get Nick's quick opinion on this. I'm not completely out on Parrott. Yeah, I understand he got hurt, but when he was on the field, he was more than competent. He was more than competent when you watch the snaps. I feel like he could have been he could have been average. That's like a 15 to 18 guy. I think he could have been a 15 to 18 guy.
You have two different Matt Parrotts, okay? You have the Pert that came in that was throwing Marcus Golden around the place, and you were like, dude, this guy's got a mean streak in him. And then you have the other Matt Pert who was afraid of his own shadow, and the coaches were literally talking about him, saying some guys don't have the heart to compete. So you don't know who you're getting. And I will tell you, I can't say this for sure, but New York, it either makes you hardened or, you become gluttonous and you fall into, how easy it is to get food, girls, money, cars, houses, and everything very easy at your fingertips. And that could be, it could be what happened to Pert because he came in. Remember, we were all like this when Marcus Golden was getting thrown around the place.
Yeah, so Nick's another guy like we got Truth, our draft guru. Nick's great. Again, if you haven't followed or seen Nick, go hit up his Twitter.
Got a good microphone.
See his ad right there. I love his breakdowns. Go watch his film breakdown. Does good work. So since you watch so much and have give us a little bit of technical shot on Parrott. What do you think between what offense he was in versus what he's going to be going into now with Kafka?
So first, I think the Truth is trying to get in, Craig. So let's bring him in. And in terms of Matt Parrott, if Matt Parrott was fully healthy and starting right now, he would be somebody that I would be looking to replace. I think he's somebody who, in theory, should be effective as a pass protector. He has the footwork. It's like a 98th percentile length. All of the physical traits are there for Matt Parrott, but there seems to be a lack of dog and competitiveness that was permeating through specifically last year that Joe Judge and the coaching staff was talking about. In terms of technically, I feel like he did a really poor job protecting his outside shoulder. He would commit his hips way too often up the pass rushing arc, which kind of gave defenders a two-way go. And it put him in a disadvantageous situation a lot of the time. So I feel like when we saw him early on, he was a pretty good run blocker. Remember that game against Washington, Greg? You were alluding to some of that tape. I was really intrigued by that, but it's kind of been all downhill from there, in my opinion, for Matt Parrott.
So do you think he's a swing tackle at best, or are you just out on him?
No, I think he could be a swing tackle. So I feel like him and Gano can really compete to be swing tackles, and I feel like they would be a solid swing tackle option because we've seen Parrott step in and be solid at times. But if he was our starter, that is definitely somebody that I'm still looking to upgrade over because I haven't seen consistency there. But to be fair, this is a kid coming out of UConn, smaller level of competition, and he's still young. So there could be development there. But if he doesn't have that dog, like the old coaching staff said, it's difficult for me to say I want that guy to be a long-term giant.
It's a great segue to is it Gono? Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, Gano, something like that.
Yeah, 6'4".
Well, if he doesn't do well, he's Gano.
Yeah,
dude, Zane, that was a dad joke, and I appreciate it.
I got 2 boys, baby. That's how it goes.
Yep. That try the veal. I'll be here all week. All right. Here's what's cool about Gano, is that he's a New Jersey kid. Sent him into New Jersey South, down here by me and Zane. He did have some shoulder surgery in 2001. That's why he missed the season. He was an undrafted free agent in 2018. He can play right tackle or left guard. I have seen some tape on him, and he's got a great kick step, believe it or not. I actually like his footwork for the limited snaps, that he has, where when you look at looking at Glewinsky has, played right guard and left guard. Most of these guys have played multi-positions, but what I've seen, he could play left or right if he had to. The question is, can he compete? You know what I mean? He hasn't played a lot of football, right? So, I don't know. Truth, I'm going to turn – you're turned on here. Do you have any thoughts on Gano?
Well, first of all, how do I sound?
Perfect. Don't move
Clear,
at
very
all.
clear.
Don't move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that. Clip by someone on Twitter that did a breakdown on Gano.
Yeah, it's probably Bobby Skinner. He's great with the clips.
Yeah, and he did impress me. He looks like a solid player. That if the Giants do get a right tackle in the draft, which I'm expecting, and he doesn't start on day one, I would be comfortable with Gano starting in early on before, maybe a few games, and then the right tackle, a rookie, comes in.
Okay. Like I said, I don't have a lot of opinion on him. Again, I'm glad there's competition. So I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole on Gano, but if you guys got something on it, you're more than glad to jump in. The biggest thing is he healthy? He did have shoulder surgery 10 months ago.
Yeah, so this is somebody that the Falcons prioritized last offseason. They tendered him to keep him. They were expecting him to be a contributor in 2021. So that says something about his skill set, right? That they had something there. But then he got hurt, and now he's gone. So they're just like, okay, well, we're going to let him go. He can go find greener pastures somewhere else. And like you said, Craig, I agree. I like the competition. I love the athleticism, love his kick slide. I think he has very, very smooth feet. The deficiencies that I saw were more related to punch timing, overall patience, committed his hips a little bit early, similar to Matt Peart, and just the overall framing of a block. So how he kind of utilizes his ability to cut off angles and things like that, which when you're not great at that, it leads to you overextending at times, which can lead to balance issues, center of gravity issues,
Kind of like Eric Flowers.
Oh, Eric Flowers was quite bad.
Don't bring that name up.
Yes, Flowers was quite...
I've never seen anybody extend, lunge, and bend at the waist more than that guy. His entire career was like this. He was always bent. He's always bent over. All right.
Yeah.
How about Doug? So we brought
let me bring up something quick on Gano, right? Here's
Yeah,
my
go
one
ahead. What can you
concern
say
with
about him?
Right? Here's my concern. 6'3", 305.
Yes.
Boy's not a big boy for a tackle. He's guard size. He's a little bit smaller. So you worry about a little bit about the play strength. To me, play strength is way more important than size, right? Your play strength defines how you're going to hold up. What do you guys think about his actual size? Do you think he can hold up on the outside, or is he more of a possible guard?
Could be a guard. He's played both, hasn't he?
Yes.
He's played
he
right
has
tackle
both.
and left guard.
I mean, the ultimate plan is for him to be your backup at both positions and go draft yourself for, plug and play right tackle in the draft. That's what you want.
Yeah, I agree with the truth. I think Gano and Matt Peart are both they should be backups here. Whereas you want to get, say, an Evan Neal or Nicky Ekwonu in the first round, then you have those two guys who can step in a pinch. Gano has that versatility where you can kick him inside, and then that also gives you a lot of flexibility because you have Shane Lemieux or Ben Bredeson, who's potentially a starting guard if they don't address the guard in this draft. Shane Lemieux's coming off a partially torn patellar tendon, and Ben Bredeson, he's an up and down type of player anyways. I think just having this competition in-house is something that we were hoping would happen in 2020. Never materialized, really.
And Patel is jumping way in front of us, talking about trade down for Linderbaum. We're not there yet. I still have a couple more to get to, so everyone just hold on. I know Nick is the giraffe guru, like the truth is, but I got to get through a couple more because we definitely took off the last 2 weeks, so we're a little bit behind on the free agents. So, and that's my bad because my schedule has been upside down. What's up, Danny? Great, thanks for jumping in the building. All right, so Feliciano. Okay, this is for you, Patel. Even though Feliciano's in the building, it wouldn't stop me from drafting Linderbaum. I don't want him at 7 any longer. But Feliciano has played right guard, left guard, and center. But he's made it very clear that he's most comfortable in the center position. So I like Feliciano. I don't know if he's better than Price or if he's better than someone they bring in. I like his attitude. I think he's definitely a guy that, is a good locker room guy. And I'm feeling like this is because he's a former Bill that, he feels he's getting a opportunity, so to speak, that if I've ever wanted to be a starter, this is my chance. And again, to what Truth's point is, here's another guy that can play 3 positions. He's played right guard, left guard, and center. So, Zane, what's your thought on Feliciano? Again, I don't love him. I don't hate him, but I do know there's competition finally in the building, and that, again, you guys heard me go off 2 weeks ago that there was not one healthy lineman on the team 14 weeks ago, right? If the season started 14 days ago, we were playing without an offensive line. So, Zane, give me a little something on Feliciano.
Yeah, so I'll say at least anybody coming from the Bills is twofold, right? A lot of people always go, "Oh, we're the New York Raven Bills." Look, guys are gonna bring in the guys they're familiar with to help speed up this. You got to speed up the system. You can't teach everybody brand new. You bring tutelage. You bring experience. It helps everybody out. It's never surprising. It happens every time. It's why Judge brought in, God knows, one roster spot for that special teams player, Ebner, right? He just kept, for some goddamn reason, he's in love with Ebner too.
He loved that guy, yeah.
Wasted a roster spot, but that's neither here nor there. The point being is everyone brings in their guys because it really, really helps out. So from here standpoint, it's twofold. Like I said, we didn't have healthy linemen. Two, I love what he tweeted. He said, I've always been a backup. It's finally my time. So I'm loving the attitude he's coming with. He's coming for that spot. He tweeted that out. I loved it about him. Billy Price is a free agent, so I think at center he's all we have right now. We didn't re-sign Billy Price.
No,
so I'll see about that. He's still on the market. But aside from Feliciano, I don't think we have anybody else. So as of right now, and if Nick Gates ever catches winds of this, bro, God bless you. I hope you get better. You're one of the toughest guys, and I loved you on the O-line. I hope you can come back. But he himself has had a minor setback. It's going to be a tough road for him. So between everybody else we have right now, I think he's the only guy who can play center. So I think by default, he's the guy right now.
Nick, are you feeling like this is his job to lose, or do you think he's like the guy that we have right now that can snap?
I think he's the guy right now that can snap. Ideally, with John Feliciano, I think he's a solid overall run blocker. He's pretty crafty with his hands, and it may not always look pretty, but he does find ways to win as a run blocker. He's adequate in pass protection. I think you can get by with him as your pass protecting center, but there are some issues that may crop up, and he does kind of find himself on the ground sometimes, which tends to happen. And I think when you kick him in space, he's also pretty good. I mean, Dable used him a lot on G lead when he was guard, and then sometimes they would pull the center and they would have like the guard kick out the man on the line of scrimmage. He would lead block, pick up that cornerback or pick up that alley defender and spring pretty big runs. I felt like he took good angles in those situations.
I'm glad you brought that up because he's athletic, and not all centers can pull. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm glad you brought that up because, sometimes the center doesn't have the footwork to get out fast enough and down the line to kick out or whatever they're supposed to be doing. So I will give
Linderbaum.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Linderbaum's a whole different animal at the center spot, but Nick is spot on. Is that and Buffalo, they're using Feliciano like a guard because he can pull. You don't see a lot of NFL centers that can pull with ease.
And the concerns that I have with Feliciano in terms of being a pass protector, it really always centralized around him absorbing power, so that anchor. If you watched him in week 1, he faced number 97 of Pittsburgh, Cam Hayward, a lot, man, and I know that's one of the top players at that position, but it wasn't pretty, and he really struggled with just pure power bull rush. So the anchor can be an issue. You look within the division, you got Jonathan Allen, you got Daron Payne, just down there in Washington. Fletcher Cox isn't here with Philadelphia anymore, which is all good. That's gravy. But there are some strong interior defensive linemen.
I thought they re-signed him.
I thought they re-signed him too.
They traded him, right?
No, I thought they cut him and they were going to re-sign him. I don't know if they actually did, but if they did, that's up.
I thought he got
I'm looking
traded.
I'm going to look that up because they did cut him, but I thought they were working on a 1-year deal. But continue. Keep going.
Well, can I say something? No,
can.
a lot of these guys, other than Glewinsky, are 1-year deals. So, I mean, I can see at least 3 guys getting drafted on the offensive line by the Giants, and one of them, it will be a guy who could play multiple positions at least at a center position. That's what I'm seeing, like a center guard guy, maybe on day 3. And I have one guy in mind that I think they may go after. But
can I ask
who that is?
No. Well, first I want, what conferences does this player play in?
He's in the SEC.
Is it Luke Fortner?
Yes.
I also wait.
You watched your film.
I also got Thorne. Wait. I'm on that train too. I also got Thorne.
That a boy, man. Holy smokes. Good job.
Me and Zane will leave, and we'll leave you two in the room to talk about it.
Oh, no, I'm with him. Luke Thorne is one of my late round picks that is going to slide
like him.
right in there. He can slide right in there.
And just so we remain 100% accurate here on the Giants, guys, because you know how accurate I am with my information. Fletcher Cox signed a 1-year deal worth $14 million. 3 days ago. So he is.
Oh, at Philly.
Yeah. So he's back. 6 Pro Bowls. 31 years old. New deal is worth $14 million.
He's a beast.
His last contract was $18 million. So he didn't take that big of a pay cut, but it is a 1-year deal.
But it helps their cap because they released him, designated him as post June 1st to get that cap, and now they're going to re-sign him.
Correct.
So good for them.
Yeah, that's smart move. Smart move.
Yeah, basically it was a calendar move, right?
It's fine. Don't worry. They're going to draft like 4 wide receivers. We're good. I'm not worried about that.
You better hope they do.
Well, yeah, they already stole our receiver from last year, right? All right, so Jamil Douglas played for the Bills in Washington. He's the latest signing, right guard, not much experience, good depth piece. I would expect him to battle for a spot or be a backup. These are all, of course, predominantly, on the younger side, guys. There's no one here that's, on a second or third contract. Truth, you got any thoughts on Jamil Douglas? Again, he hasn't played a lot of ball.
No, he's a like you just said, a depth piece. He may not even make the roster, 53-man roster. There's a long way to go before we get there, and especially whoever we draft. And don't forget, other players getting cut, and we're gonna have a revolving door before open day comes anyway.
All right, so those are the 4 linemen they brought in, but the Giants weren't only bringing in linemen. So we've got Dustin Ellis, we got Jahard Ward, we got Matt. I can't even say his last name. Breda, and Ricky Seals-Jones. So Zane, I'm going to start off with Ricky Seals-Jones, tight end. He's played for him like 45 teams. And to me, he seems like a really good dude. Like locker room guy, people like him. He's got a big smile on his face. He loves what he does. But he has played on a lot of teams and hasn't caught on. However, the Giants have zero, zing, zip, zilch tight ends on this team. So could be a practice squad guy, could be a camp body.
I think he makes the roster.
Any thoughts on him?
I think as long as he's healthy, I think he'll make the roster because he has the experience. He's played the snaps. I don't remember Dable playing a lot of 12. I think he plays single tight end, like he plays 11 personnel. I don't know how that's going to go moving forward or not, how he chooses to use tight ends. Obviously, we need a lot more than what we have. Ricky Seals-Jones gets hurt a lot, not ideal. You might remember him last season. He's the one who caught the touchdown over Jackson in the corner end zone on us when we lost that game.
He caught the ball. Remember that. He caught the ball.
Now you got to get stuff up.
That was against us. So if people remember that name, it's because that's what happened last year. I think he's good size. He's never turned into what he was supposed to be physically. Extremely gifted. Even his college production is questionable. Nothing's really translated too well, right? He's average at best. He doesn't do anything great. You're not going to go, oh my God, he's explosive. Oh my God, he's fast. Oh my God, his vertical. He's not that guy. I just think he's a good piece that if he stays healthy, has usage. That's my opinion on him.
All right. Well, so the one that intrigues me a little bit, the two actually, is Ward, who's a D end, and Ellis is a D tackle. Nick, Ellis to me is basically, 6'2", 350, played with Wink before. Seems like he's just replacing who we lost in
Austin Johnson.
So Ellis comes in. He already knows what Wink wants. It seems like a good fit. Ward is a DN, and what I love about Ward is he's 6'5", 287. Do you have any thoughts on, again, I know he's not a dominant piece, but any thought that they could turn Ward into something?
So in terms of Ellis, I feel like that's more of a replacement for Danny Shelton in terms of size and profile, whereas Austin Johnson's a little bit more of an upfield burst. I can play 3 technique in an even
100%.
front type of team.
Yep.
But to go to your Jihad Ward point, Ward is 287. Ward played edge a lot for Wink Martindale. Typically, you want him towards the boundary when doing that, so it's restricted space because he's a good athlete for his size, but he's not necessarily somebody you want to the field side because outside runs, faster running backs will be able to probably accelerate past him as he attempts to fight laterally through contact because people are blocking down on him or a tackle is stepping and trying to get to his outside shoulder or what have you. But I think it's just another depth signing, another familiar signing, a rotational piece who can kick inside on passing situations, and then he can also do a solid job there. I posted a clip on Twitter of all of his sacks. A lot of them are based off of scheme. A lot of them are based off the twist game. A lot of them, 2 of them were unblocked. A couple of them were him exploding low to high. I feel like he has really good leverage and does a good job exploding low to high, getting to the half man, and then kind of ripping through the outside shoulder, or the inside shoulder actually was probably his better path. The inside shoulder of blockers and then crash into pocket that way. He got a couple sacks through power in that manner. But he's not somebody that's going to earn, I think, a significant amount of snaps here unless the Giants just totally neglect to add edge.
Miz likes Ellis. I agree. I like him, Miz, because he's a fit for Wink. You know, anytime you go to a team, especially a new team, and you already know the scheme and the defensive coordinator, it's basically he just drove down 95. I mean, he drove up 95. Nothing's changed. So yeah, so Ellis and Nick's right on. Like I forgot it. Danny Shelton to me was an abomination. So
he was so bad last season.
Yeah. So I've been choosing to forget he was on the team, Miz. So I was automatically like thinking, okay, it was a Johnson replacement, but it probably is more the Danny Shelton where. You know, you just really need to stuff those gaps and have that big body in the way. Ward, again, not an upfield burst guy like Nick already talked about. Truth, any thoughts that, listen, we pulled in Roche. Roche kind of was that guy where they might have given up on, not the Giants. Was it the Raiders? Yeah,
Steelers.
The Steelers might have gave up on him a little early, and I think they actually kind of regretted that later on. But I think that Roche has got, again, he's a B+ type of end. Any feeling on Ward that maybe he can be schemed up?
Well, I really think the whoever's going to take that spot away from Roche is going to be in the draft. So that's my perception. With Ward, he's not a bad player. He knows the system. I think he'll be a good rotational player. I don't see him starting and taking a lot of snaps, but
yeah.
In today's football, you're going to have a lot of rotational in your defensive line to keep them fresh. Kind of makes sense.
He replaced him, assuming again at his size. It's interesting because it's not like he's going to replace Zimenez or Carter. He's a completely different player. 80, and he's got 40, 50 pounds on some of these guys.
Hey, I don't know this. Does he play more with his hand in the dirt, or does he go either way when he plays?
Okay. I think predominantly he's used. Well, what are the Ravens run a 4-3 or do they run a 3-4?
They're more of an odd front team. But when he was in Jacksonville, and even with the Ravens, he would be a stand-up outside linebacker, which is
that's impressive then.
Yeah, for a guy who's 290, he's huge. He's not.
He
small.
is huge, but
massive.
again, he's huge, but he's not an upfield kind of burst kind of guy. He's going to come in with a package or he's a circumstance guy. Down in distance, you're not letting him roll for 3 downs, kind of a
20
guy.
snaps or something like that.
20, 25. Right. And he'll be used on the twist game. So when Martindale doesn't blitz, he likes to use those stunts and those twists up front. And I felt like he did a good job timing up as the looper, allowing the penetrator to take and occupy the B gap, ensure that guards' hips are faced outward. And then he timed up his vertical release off the line of scrimmage and went under pretty well. It's just his acceleration isn't, he's not Yannick Ngakoue in that manner, but he's still good at selling it and getting the tackles and guards just manipulated.
Yeah, Ward doesn't have that kind of bend. So even though he's coming on from the outside, you're not getting, like he just talked about, like, you're the second guy in the twist. He doesn't have that type of bend. But again, I think it's a good. Again, we're low on cash. We know the cash flow is low, so you're looking for players that have an upside. That maybe these players don't do anything on the team last year, but with Wink, you get a whole lot more out of them.
Yeah, I think
makes sense.
Nick hit it on the head when talking about his success. Ward's success was based on scheme, and what's the first thing Wink said about the pass rush? Give me the corners, I can scheme everything else. I can get the guy free. I can get him open. Give me the corners to hold. So that's Wink's system. So right now, between our coordinators and our coach, between Dable, Kafka, and Wink Martindale, who's the most successful coordinator we have? It's Wink Martindale. So whoever he's bringing in, I give that a lot more credence at this time.
All right, then Zane, I'm going to give this right back to you.
Let's do it.
We've there's Barkley trade talks. There's Barkley, he's polarizing.
He has become very polarizing.
Yeah, I mean, it is a Barkley Jones polarizing world. There's hate, there's love, there's indifference, and look, I've said that numerous times, we spend so much energy on trashing the guy. Let's just find a way to make all of them successful and worry about next year. And of course, we just rode through 4 additions to the team. There's going to be draft. One way or another, there will be more holes for Barkley this year than there were last year. However, yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed, Truth. However, they did sign a running back who also has he's well-traveled, I'd say. Niners, Dolphins, Bills. Again, I'm probably mangling his name, but it's Matt Breida.
Breida, that's correct. Yep, that's right.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm rolling with for now until someone tells me different. Again, I'm not overly familiar with him, just looking up, his stat line. Any thought, Zane, on what he's bringing to the table? Is this a guy who will get snaps? Will he replace Booker, kind of a deal? Like, what's your thought on Breida?
So the cool thing is his best tape was when he was in San Francisco, right? That's when his name started to really rise, because then, of course, you got Shanahan, right, who can now scheme and develop and do all that good stuff too. But lo and behold, if there wasn't enough Barkley talk, we're going to add more Barkley talk, because they signed basically almost like a Barkley clone, a guy who likes to go to the outside, who can, go out of the backfield and catch the ball. So if they're going to be a little bit more fuel to the fire about the Barkley trade, this signing really, really did it for me. I was like, that's interesting how you're signing, not signing a change of pace. He's not a change of pace at all to Barkley. He's literally the same thing with a different name, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll let Nick and Truth jump in here. I want to defer to them, but that's my thought process, that they didn't sign a change of. They already signed the change of pace guys, so they brought in kind of a little clone. So here's one of 2 things, right? He's going to spell Barkley. He wants to spell Barkley so Barkley stays healthy, which is more than reasonable, because I think, again, I've said this before, Saquon Barkley is healthy. He's not mentally there. He needs to get over that hurdle where he doesn't feel like he's going to get hurt. That's where I think he is.
I want to pick up this Yeti microphone I have over here, and I just want to grab it and just
it's expensive. It's a good microphone. Don't do it.
Yeah, I know. That would be a dumb move. But
I'll let Nick speak on to that. But that's my opinion. I think they signed a little bit clone to either spell him, or now there's slowly more and more. Is Barkley gonna be here? I don't know.
Insurance. You never know.
Yeah, so there's always going to be insurance, but I will say, we all know, I'm dating myself here a little bit, but the best years we've had were always with change of pace backs. I mean, there was Ward, Bradshaw, and Jacobs. You had Otis and Rodney Hampton, and the Giants' success pounding the rock. I know it's a throwing league, but pounding the rock has always come with, outside of Tiki. Okay, the Tiki era was Tiki Barber. after and before Tiki has always been a lot of change of pace backs, and to Zane's point, I don't really think he is a change of pace back. I don't know if there's a change of pace back, that's on the team. There is, what's his name that we drafted last year who got hurt? Brightwell. Again, I'm not a big fan of Brightwell, but he's definitely a different style, more of a
in between the tackles guy. He's not an outside guy.
Yeah,
He's
more downhill runner, square up kind of guy. I don't know. What's your thought, Nick? Do you have any love for him? Do you find it's a good fit?
You talk about Breida or Brightwell?
Breida.
So I can't subscribe to Zane's. He's the same thing as Saquon Barkley, but I think he is a good change of pace option for the Giants. Somebody who will be an effective third down type of receiver. He was very well used, I would say, by Dable in terms of getting him into space. I think once he's in space, his trump card, if you will, is speed, is acceleration, and I feel like he does a really good job setting up blocks in space as well, which I think that's how he'll be utilized. I think he'll make this roster. My concerns with him, I don't think he's an in-between the tackle runner, and he has to hold on to the football. He just puts it on the ground a little bit too much, and he's also one of those players that gets dinged up whenever his workload tends to increase. At least that's what it was like when he had a pretty big workload out there in San Francisco.
All right. I'm on board with all of that. All right, so let's get to the last one. The one that, again, circling back to the polarizing, player of the century, Daniel Jones is backup quarterback. I have seen nothing but Tyrod Taylor, which I will say is a much improved backup from Glennon and Fromm. We don't even need to go down that road. He's a professional quarterback. He's a professional player. He's a cerebral guy. He's played on multi-teams. He definitely knows to learn a playbook. He's athletic. And I was more than satisfied with the signing, but I will say he kind of won me over with his press conference. Super prepared, wasn't afraid of the media asking him questions about starting, non-starting, said all the right things. I like him a whole lot more today, than I did 3 days ago. I just was really impressed with his demeanor. And again, he's a professional quarterback in this league, right? There are guys that are professional quarterbacks. Truth, can Tyrod Taylor, and I shouldn't even bring this up. I shouldn't even say what I'm about to
Don't say it. Say it.
It's my job. It's my job. It's what I do. Can Tyrod Taylor start for the New York Giants if Daniel Jones is healthy? Can he come in and win a job? Or is he just here to run almost, I don't want to call him a scout QB, but is he here to help Jones digest the Dable offense? Because that's what it feels like, right? Hey, let me bring in a crutch for Jones or a security blanket or a guy that can help Jones because he's done it, right? Is that something? Am I far off, Truth, from saying that? Or do you?
No.
They took Tyrod as, hey, this guy can start for us.
No, I think the answer to your questions is yes and yes. I think yeah, he could start. Who knows what's going to happen? Jones could falter. I don't want that to happen. I think Jones is going to have a good year under Dable, but they brought him in my opinion, as the backup, and he will compete. And yes, he's the best backup we had in the last few years anyway, and he is a professional, like you said. He knows his role, but. Would I feel uncomfortable if he had to start? No, because he's not a bad quarterback, but I want Daniel Jones to succeed.
Zane, you feel like, hey, you know what? If anybody's going to come in and help Jones adapt to the Dable offense, this is the cat. Would you subscribe to that, or do you feel, hey, no, they thought this guy can actually come in and win a job?
Well, kind of, sort of, because he was only in Buffalo.
Kind of, sort of. What kind of answer is that?
Well, I'll go somewhere with it. Kind of, sort of, because I believe he was in Buffalo for only 1 year with Dable. I could be wrong, but I think he was in Buffalo. One
more than Jones.
No, yeah. he wasn't in Buffalo with Dable. He was in Buffalo with Shane. Yeah,
there you go.
Gable
Here's a
came in
little shade.
18.
So there you go. So there
Yeah.
you go. I don't even think they have a connection here. I think this was a Shane call, but I think we're all hitting it on the head. A actual professional backup with a similar skill set. When I say similar skill set, he can run the offense that if Daniel Jones gets hurt, which he gets hurt every season so far, there's no
So
preparedness.
far.
Remember what happened on 2nd and 9 and you ran that stupid QB sneak because you couldn't trust somebody to throw a ball? We don't want that to happen. We got a guy that, worst case scenario, can do a little play action, a rollout, move the ball a little bit. Same thing you can do skill set wise in terms. So I think this was kind of he's absolutely a backup because every time Tyrod's gotten a start, he's gotten hurt within 3 weeks himself. He gets a little bit banged up too because he's a smaller guy. He's not huge. I like the signing. I think he's going to be a good backup. And inevitably, if Jones gets hurt, knock on wood, I don't want him to, you got a guy that at least can come in and keep the offense kind of moving without you going, oh my God, we're stuck.
Yep.
Nick, the
Yeah,
floor is yours. What's your thoughts?
So Dan Schneier and I just had Mark Schofield, somebody who really studies quarterbacks in depthly, on our podcast, the Big Blue Banter podcast, it's dropping tomorrow morning. And he talked about Tyrod Taylor's last 3 teams and how when he was in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield in his rookie season, Baker Mayfield had that great rookie season. And then he goes to Los Angeles with the Chargers. And we all remember what happened with the doctor and everything. But he was there with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert ends up breaking out. And then last year, Davis Mills, a lot better than a lot of people suspected. Now, does Tyrod link to all that? Of course not. But is there something there that may suggest that Tyrod Taylor does a solid job being that backup quarterback, that guide for young quarterbacks? I think there's something there for that. So I think that's something else we can get out of this. But in terms of the quarterback competition, I would say that Jones will have an inside track. But if Jones falls on his face, you have a legitimate option now, which we cannot say has been in place for quite some time. I think Tyrod is a legit option, although I would say it is an inside track for Daniel Jones right now.
I like that thought. I think we're all on the same page. I call him the pro's pro because to Nick, to your point, you don't go to 3 different teams and basically 3 quarterbacks just pop. There's always something there, whether it's help in preparation, help and understand, what's happening in the classroom. It could be anything from like a footwork, help, something maybe in his footwork or mechanics. Like there's something that Tyrod does really well. And like, again, I'm not trying to cut his career short, but I would assume he'd be a great coach too. Because there's something that he does, whether he calms them down, whether he's, a great communicator, he's great in the classroom, whatever it is, there's something, right? It's not like a one-off. You're talking about 3 quarterbacks that have had him in the quarterback room have popped, right, with his help. So, again, he's definitely a pro's pro, and I think there's something to be said for the fact that when he goes to a team, he becomes a mentor, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if there is something, if Jones does not, I think the word you used was falter, is that he could come in and sling the rock for you for a half a year until you make more plans. You're not going to go we know Glennon and Fromm were an abomination. We won't feel that way. And I like the fact that he has experience. I mean, the guy has a lot of snaps in the NFL. I think he'll be a calming force, for Jones, and they make a good team. So I'm right there with that, and I'm glad, you guys are. I was wondering if anybody was going to be like, "This sucks. This is a bad signing."
The contract is good too. People freaked out about the contract. It's a good contract for what he makes.
When you're buzzing around all day long, and you see 18 million pop up with a Tyrod signing, I mean, my head did explode. I mean, what? But as the day wore on, you see how it was broken out, and now it's more than palatable, right?
And it's twofold. Think a little bit of the future. If Jones flops, guess what? You got a guy who's your bridge right after that, right? Tyrod can be, again, back to that mentor role we just talked about for you.
Well, that's why they gave him a 2-year deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good signing.
So, all right. So let's kind of come full circle to the fact that we have competition. The theme of this show, if you haven't caught on yet, and thanks for all you guys jumping in. Kev Mack, I see you in here. Thanks for jumping in. Hey, Charlie, what's happening? Thanks for jumping in, guys. The theme is competition. My biggest issue has been, as I started the show, was no competition. Everybody was handed a job the last 2 years. We're finally going to have competition. You don't have competition, guess what you got? lazy teams, lazy scheme, lazy execution. Because when you suck, you still have a job tomorrow. That won't happen moving forward, and that's encouraging. So while we have all these new bodies in, potentially to come to camp, let's talk 5, 7. Let's talk 5 and 7. First, I want to just know it's sit or stay. Are we sitting, on it, or are we sitting or are we trading it? Zane, are we staying at 5 and 7 or are we trading it?
I'm gonna hit you with the whammy here. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think you sit with one and you trade the other.
That's an archer right there.
There it is.
Oh, wait, you didn't give me a number though. Am I staying 5, trading 7?
I'm trading 5. It has more value, and I think right now between what's taking place between the Panthers, the Falcons, even the Commanders,
Seattle,
with Carson Wentz, Seattle. Listen,
Pittsburgh.
Malik Willis's stock is rising insanely.
Yeah.
So it was already a hot topic. He's rising. Kenny Pickett's a guy that apparently Matt Rule's been in love with for a while. So there's some names floating. So I think 5 would be the one if you trade. And the big if is, if you love a person, or a player, I should say, are you willing to trade? I don't know how this machine is going to work. Even though Joe Shane has flat out said, I want as many at-bats as I can get. So everything's been said the right way. What actually happens is the wait and see, because he's never had an individual draft where he's the guy. He's been the guy next to the guy.
All right. So I don't want to. I do want to. I neglected again. I will slap my own wrist later on. I forgot. Kevin Mack threw up.
Right. Davis Webb is back.
D Webb. So they did sign D Webb. And this story is quite interesting on how he was potentially going to, migrate into becoming a coach for the Bills. And it was like a $150,000, $200,000 job. And then, of course, the changes happened with the Giants. And next thing you know, he's making league minimum at $900 if he's on the active roster. I think it's like $750 if he's practice squad. So he figured, hey, guess what? I'll take another year. That kind of money.
D Webb is the Dable guy. He's the guy that people thinks Tyrod is. He's the one coming from the system who's going to help speed up the playbook. He's the one who's probably going to run the scout team. And FYI, only quarterback actively who's played for all 3 New York teams, right? Giants, Jets, Bills, back to Giants.
Ooh, look at Zay, huh?
That's why people tune in. Whether it's Spotify or your Apple Podcast or live with us on Twitter and YouTube, dropping knowledge like that.
Right.
Bam. All right. So, Nick, what am I doing at 5 and 7? Am I sitting? Am I trading? Or if you like Zane's thought, am I splitting?
I'm definitely split because I think a lot of it does depend on the trade package that you're going to receive and the players that are still available at 5. You still have to see what Jacksonville, what Houston, what the Jets, and what the Lions are going to do before the New York Giants. Now, I will say it's going to be hard for me to pass up on one of those right tackles if they're sitting there at 5. But if you're talking about trading back a couple spots or even all the way back to 20 and then recouping 4 day 2 picks in the next 2 drafts, a 1 next year, I think I would have to say, there's the tackle class and the draft in general is deep enough to where I would take that risk. It's all going to be about risk assessment. It's all going to be about how comfortable you are with some of these later options. And I mean, I'm sure the truth could speak to this. This might not be a top-heavy draft class, but dude, day 2 and early day 3, there's so much value at so many.
It's game on.
Oh, so game on.
I really like Trevor Penning, man. I like that big boy.
You settle down.
I'm sorry.
He might go before 15.
He might.
Yeah. So if it is a trade back to Pittsburgh, then that would be a little iffy. I like Penning, but I'm not as high on Penning as I feel like a lot of other people. I still feel like there's a lot of development that should probably still happen with the film that I've seen from Penning. Yep. But when you're that big and you can move like that, it's very, very enticing because there's just not that many humans who can do that.
And when you're nasty, we don't have nasty anymore. There's no violence on this team. Everyone's just like a nice guy. This is football.
Well, you Generation X, Z young millennials ruin that for everyone. Everybody's kumbaya. It's not my generation.
Craig, I was born in 1985. I'm not even part of that generation. I'm pushing 40, bro.
Wait. All right, you're just squeaking in on Gen X.
You're a puppy. You're a puppy.
Yeah. All right. Truth. Am I sitting? Am I splitting? What am I doing?
All right. Well, you're gonna split, and the logical spot is 5 because that's where the most value is. Because everybody wants to leapfrog Carolina, and the Giants may have to trade back because of the cap hit. Zay brought that up a few weeks back about how much it's going to cost to sign these guys. Just the 5th and 7th pick is going to be almost $12 million, a cap hit. That's what I read Peter King's column. So that's a lot of money for a team that doesn't have a lot of money right now anyway. But I think at 5, that's where you trade back. And I don't know if I go back to 20. That's a lot of talent you're missing. I hope a team like Seattle wants to trade with us and we make that move. And if there's a tackle there at 5, we're going to get him at 7 anyway because someone's going to take him. He should be there at 7, I think, anyway.
It's
I would
interesting.
hope. Yeah. Sorry.
You do hope because again, like it's a really unique swing 5, 6, 7, right? Because realistically, I mean, look, I understand. I'm the first guy to get that. The guy you take at 7, if he's rated the 20th best player, are you making a mistake, right? But I still rest on one solid thing that when we put all the numbers aside and who ranked who what, if you don't have a badass tackle coming in and you wait for him and he's not there, what did your team gain? Just because we fall in love with, I rated him 20, you rated him 12, but guess what? We didn't get him anyway. Like some of those things make, throw me over the edge a little bit because I get it. The safety's higher rated than the third tackle. But when the season starts, if I don't have that tackle, who won? You know what I mean? Like, okay, we'll wait till next year. Jones gets his ass kicked and there's no holes for Barkley. We have a avalanche of problems that still exist. So if you can get, Icky, Neal, or Cross at 5, I think you have to take them. That's just my feeling. After that, you're right. If you can't get those 5, I think 5 is a trade out.
Yeah, so
7.
now quickly, so sorry about that because I saw Truth make a face. So he is right. The salary cap, I believe, for this pool is about 16.5 as currently stands. But the name came up and Truth made the face because he's not a big fan of Cross. I know he's not thinking Cross at 5 or 7.
No, look, I'm not a big fan. I just think he'll take more developing than the other 2 guys. The other 2 guys, to me, are plug and play right tackles. Cross is a good athlete, no doubt about it, but he does have to work on his run blocking, and he's got to get a little bit stronger. He's got to get stronger,
and it will happen. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, but
I would rather teach Cross how to run block and get stronger than teach Trevor Penning how to play tackle in the NFL. I would.
That's funny. I'd rather have Trevor Penning than Cross. That's funny you say that.
Yeah, because I think Trevor Penning's got way more project on him because he's smaller school, way too angry, wants to dominate. Look, we all watch the same Senior Bowl clips of him getting his ass kicked, like literally on roller skates, getting pushed back into the quarterback. Like whether he doesn't want to hold or he's got pro coaches coaching him now, so it's a different scheme. Like. You're worried about a guy who ran block all the way up to North Carolina, and they just said, we're going to throw the ball a lot, so you're penalizing him. Like, I'm sure he can run block. I don't want to go and trade back to 20, and all the tackles are gone. Now I got to choose 2 guards. Like, you don't want to go without drafting one of these talented guards. You just don't.
And another
tackles, you mean?
Yeah.
Tackle.
Yeah, another thing about Penning, man, this guy had 16 penalties last year and 34 in his career against Northern Iowa competition. There are red flags with Penning. Like I said before, there's a lot.
Okay, that's a good point.
But in terms of Cross is similar. Like he is a huge body and has all the movement skills, excellent feet, all that stuff I love. But unless you're certain that he can make that transition to right tackle, that's a big risk. Now you can be certain, I guess, to an extent, And there's also an excellent point made by Brandon Thorne, who does a great job covering offensive line. Excellent follow on Twitter if anybody wants to go check him out. That the transition from the offense that he played under Mike Leach into the NFL is going to be pretty vast. That air raid, in terms of just the alignments that he is going to see and the angles that he's going to have to take to attack, not just because they ran the ball only 200 times that season. There's a little bit more to just the fronts that he's going to see in the NFL that he didn't necessarily see because of how defenses in the SEC played that Mike Leach offense.
Yep. No, it's a great point. I don't, it's going to be tough because he's not going to be there at 20.
Yeah, and he's a stud.
No.
So, I don't want to, throw cold water on it, but that's where we're at with some of these guys. There's pros and cons for each, and you just got to weigh it.
There's a solid chance that if somebody comes up at 5, right, and we trade back, that Cross goes at 6 to Carolina. That's not out of the realm at all.
It's not.
He's gone.
And then you're crying in your beer.
And then you're just
Yeah, but that's if all three had taken before the 6th pick.
Oh my goodness, they're all gone. They're gone. No one in their right.
I will say this.
Unless there's a run on quarterbacks and we know it's not happening.
If Hutchinson, Tibbs, Neal, and Icky are gone the top 4, the football guys just hate us at this point. They just hate us at this point.
Well, that was my early prediction that those 4 would be gone by the first 4 picks. Yeah.
Well, Tibbs. Okay. Well, look. Since we're jumping into that, if Tibbs is
just
there,
one more before you jump, because just like Nick said, shout out to former New York Giants Super Bowl champion Jumbo Elliott. He's always good to talk to on Twitter. He shout out and said the same thing about Cross. Does he think he has the skill set? Absolutely. But what did he say? Patience, a ton of reps, need the right coaching. That's how.
Yeah, he did. I saw that Twitter. Yep.
Yeah, we like to have Jumbo on. Jumbo, we like to have you on. I will say, just to give out a shout out, we will have Pepper Johnson on in 2 weeks. We are, as the Giants guys, we're always known for our interviews. We've had some really great guys on between Orlovsky and David Deal and, Carl Banks. So we try to nail one guy a month. So in 2 weeks, we'll have Pepper Johnson on, which, by the way, we want to congratulate him. He has taken over as a defensive coordinator for a USFL team. So he is he just won a championship. If you guys don't know, he just won the championship last year at IMG in Florida. So he's been winning everywhere he basically goes. And we'll have him on in 2 weeks. So that was a little while in the making. So all right, guys, Tibbs. He's fallen like a rock, so to speak, in certain camps. Certain camps, number 1 high school player, number 1 rated college player. I'm going to give this one to you, Nick. I'm a little skeptical because of one reason, and I wish I could remember where the quote came from. I will look it up. The quote that I read on Tibbs was, great player, has all the tools, 5-star, quick trigger, he's, all those twitch muscles that you're looking for. The one thing that the player lacks is he doesn't care if he loses. Where they want a guy that's drafted 5, eating and sleeping, being the best and trying to win. He is very comfortable with, so to speak, if I lose, I lose. I'll still do my best. And there is a character, I guess, flaw on how much desire he has to win. Some guys brew over losing, and they come back stronger and faster, or with more will or more drive, or whatever term you want to put on it. What I had read was it's not a lack of ability. It's not being cerebral or intelligent enough. It's an internal desire to always win and be the best. He's comfortable in his skin if they lose. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it did hit home to me that if people are hearing that and seeing that maybe there's some validity there. Throwing it at you. What's your thought on Tibbs? 5 at 7. Do you want him? Maybe you don't want him at all. What's your thought?
No, I would take Thibodeau. So that narrative was kind of cultivated during a January interview with Joel Klatt, where Thibodeau, he came off pretty smug, to be honest. He took a shot at Alabama's education system, and essentially he said, I can go and compete for national championships at Alabama, and I wouldn't be sitting with you here today because I wouldn't be as noticed. But instead, I wanted to go to Oregon because it helped prepare me for life after football, being surrounded by Phil Knight, having Phil Knight kind of in your camp. And the West Coast is a much better educational avenue than a place like Alabama. And this pissed off Alabama people. Like Greg McElroy went after him. And that is a smug thing to say. But I think this is what started this narrative, because I've watched every bit of his film that I've seen, that I could get my hands on, and I've never seen him take any plays off. Now, I don't have access like Daniel Jeremiah, like Todd McShay. I don't have access to all the film. But all the film that I could get my hands on, I saw a dude making plays from the backside. I saw a guy running around with his hair on fire. I saw a guy giving 100% effort. Now, I understand the reservations. I'm willing to look past them as long as this guy goes into the interview and the feel that Joe Shane and the brass get from him is that he is invested in football. Because I'm not going to knock a kid for being forward thinking. Okay, if he wants to be forward thinking, that's fine. But you need to have the desire for football. And in terms of what I've seen on the field, I've seen desire. I've seen passion. I can just understand how those quotes can be used against him because they are a little bit arrogant.
That makes sense, and I'm glad you brought that up because it is something that's out there, right? And the other thing is I don't overly seeing him making a concentrated effort to squash or quell those statements. It'd be real easy to be like, "Hey, I was a jerk. I said this, taken out of context. I love football and I want to win." There are sometimes things could change like that. If he just went out of his way to be like, you know what? I love football. I'm in it. You know what? I'm going to help whatever team I'm drafted to win. He could easily just turn that right around and he could be pushing himself right up to a bigger paycheck. But it doesn't seem like it phases him. So, part of me says, does it matter to him or does it not matter to him,
I think he's extremely smart because he kind of did answer that at the Combine. Even when he was talking about the Giants, how they gave him that
Is that before or after he left early?
That's another thing.
That was the one that got people a little bit tweaked off too, right?
No, so not a little bit tweaked, dude.
There's these little,
Hutchinson's out there saying, Hutchinson's going, I can't wait to compete. Watch what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to run this best cone drill that defensive linemen have ever had.
Right? He said the right thing at the Combine real quick. You're like, okay, I'm back on him. Then he does this thing where he's like, well, I want to compete as a DN, as an outside linebacker. I'll wait to run both drills, but wait, I'm not going to do either. I'll see you at my pro day. It's like, is it you? Is it the agent? We don't know, right? Because sometimes agents control players, families control players. We don't know who it was, right? So I know he's smart enough, and that's what I'm going to say. I feel like he's a smart guy. There's two knocks on him for me, right? One, I don't think he plays the run really well. And Nick, if you've seen enough tape, you can tell me. Is he there to set the edge? Can he play the run as an outside, right?
I feel like he's excellent at playing the run. What I feel like you might be alluding to, and I'm 100% on board with you, is when he is a contained defender. So his responsibility is to set the edge and not allow people to go around him, keep the B gap narrow enough so the linebacker or the safety or whoever can fill it, and then just basically it'll be like a 1 yard gain or whatever. I feel like when he was back inside. Exactly. Spill everything. Or box everything, I'm sorry. But when he's on that edge contained, there are times where I feel like he tried to make a play and get like a 2 yard loss, and he would shade inside that B gap in anticipation for the running back to go there. And then the running backs, the good running backs, bounced it outside. I think that's correctable, though.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a fatal flaw at all whatsoever.
And by the way, that's spot on because I've seen it. I've seen him push down inside saying, watch me be Superman. Watch me make this play. I'm going to look so good. And you get caught cheating, and a good back will bounce it on him. So he's spot on. I don't know if that's necessarily
not a fatal flaw.
Lack of desire.
That's just a little bit more coaching, a little bit more discipline. Absolutely. Yeah. But I think, Craig, you nailed it. That walk away from the Combine was kind of like, why did you do that?
I got to tell you. I stewed on that for like 2 days. I'm like waiting for this cat to win me over. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, just win me over, dude, and I will be singing your praises. I'll be telling people to buy your 5 jersey. I'll be doing the whole thing. But like, dude, work the F out.
Yeah.
Truth. Tell me I'm off my rocker here.
No, that bothered me too, and especially I think the best combine was that group. I mean, among those guys. I mean, look what Walker did, for God's sakes, unbelievable. And look what Johnson did, even going into that.
Jermaine Johnson camp over here.
Bro,
Yeah.
Johnson's a stud.
That's my
Talking
guy.
about Zane.
Yeah, and look, and then like I said, Aiden Hutchinson was like, can't wait to compete. He went out and he ran like the best cone drill like that they had. Like all these
That
guys.
was a great combine.
I mean,
The thing that upset me about Tibbs, here's the thing that really upset me. It's not that he didn't participate, it's the fact that he outright said I would and then didn't participate. You got to be accountable, right? We talk about somebody so much. You outright said, listen, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to do both. Watch me work. And then just said, I'll catch you on my pro day.
Yeah, that doesn't look good character-wise.
I don't want to keep Nick all day. I know he's hanging out with us and doing us a favor by hanging out with us. Listen to the Giants guys. Got a couple quick more topics, and then we're going to let you guys go because I'm
Can
sure,
I get one more question since we're just on this topic of DNs? Let me just pick the branches here, right?
Go for it.
Just said, so Daniel Jeremiah just did my perfect mock for 5 and 7, right? At 5, he gave us Icky, and at 7, he gave me Jermaine. Thank you, God. I would be happy. I've been banging on the drum for Jermaine Johnson since before the combine, before the senior day. Oh, he's been top 10. I know Truth's there too. All he's doing is rising because he actually is complete and he's that good. Nick, your thoughts?
Every play, yeah.
Yeah, I came out with a film breakdown on Big Blue View of Jermaine Johnson and Kayvon Thibodeau. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to check it out. And I really like Jermaine Johnson. I wasn't aware that you guys were banging that drum because I don't see it around Giants Twitter all that often.
I do. I don't know about but I do. I don't choose.
There's a little bit. It's a little bit because again, like he's coming up from the depths, right? Like it was like we know him. We're starting to know him more. Whoa, who's this cat at the Senior Bowl? Oh my God, this guy just crushed it. Like, so I think it's more. I don't think anybody doesn't want to bang the drum. They just don't want him to be a workout warrior. You know what I mean? Where like Mamula climbed in went to the combine with the Eagles and then couldn't play. So I think they're
but he can play.
They're holding back their vote quite yet.
Oh, Johnson can play.
Yeah, Johnson can play. He's a incredibly violent hands, can win the edge with speed, can convert speed to power, is a very good run defender. I think people might not be as aware of him because this is somebody who went the JUCO route because of bad grades. Then he landed in Georgia for 2 years, spent all that time in Georgia. Georgia is a system that's based on lateral penetration. It's not really upfield, which is where Johnson probably is the best.
Correct.
Run around that edge and use that dip and that bend to have success and attack the half man. Honestly, man, I think Giant fans need to become a little bit more familiar with that name, Jermaine Johnson, and I don't think they should be pissed if that selection happens because he is somebody who's versatile and aggressive, physical. I like his
so
game.
happy.
They gotta follow Zane and me on Twitter. They'll know everything about Johnson.
I think with Wink is going to absolutely utilize him so well.
Oh my gosh!
Remember
how he plays. So go on, Craig.
Well, no, just like the cat has the ability to do 3 of the things that we can't do, right? Like 1, he could play the run and set the edge. 2, he as Nick said he has good hand play, right? So he's not one-dimensional where he can get off blocks and get upfield. And now you've got a player with size, with speed and power who's still agile at his size. You know, that's what made Strahan such a unique player before he tore his pec, playing at 275, coming back at 262, something like that. Like a guy that can play inside dip, outside, with a swim, with a rip, with a bull rush. We haven't had anyone like that in a long time.
Yeah.
Or Justin Tuck, if you want to say Justin Tuck had some of those abilities, couldn't bend as well. Johnson has that ability to be able to be, where guys like Vernon or Zimenez, like they're just pressure guys. And and Truth, how I get off. I will go crazy if someone tells me, but he gives a lot of pressures. I'm like, if you can't finish in the NFL, I don't want you. Johnson's a guy that can do it all.
Oh, yeah.
I think that if I know you were doing the 7 thing, I think if Tibbs is gone and Icky and Neal and Cross are gone, I think that's most logically your choice at 7.
And one more thing on Jermaine Johnson. He had a 10-yard split of 155. That's in the 97th percentile at 6'4", 254 pounds.
He's
Now the
an
Giants,
athlete.
yeah. Now the Giants are not the Ravens from last year. They did not have the infrastructure on the defense, specifically in the secondary, that the Ravens had going into the draft. But if you remember, they selected Odafe Owe, somebody who did not really have production in college, but was incredibly long, even longer than Jermaine Johnson. But he also had one of those 10-yard splits that was like a 155 or a 156 or something.
And that's
like
the guy I wanted last year in the draft. That was also a guy I wanted. So
He's a
I would love to replenish some of this. You know, Craig, why are we called New York Giants Rush? What's the rush part?
The day after the Super Bowl in 2011, the story is I left Bleacher Report because Turner Broadcasting bought Bleacher Report and left us good folks with no gig. So I made NY Giants Rush because the 4 trophies that are in the case were solely won by a pass rush,
which we've been lacking for so long. So I think the biggest issue, and Nick and Craig both hit it, it's just visibility and knowledge of Jermaine Johnson, right? JUCO route, Georgia transfer behind who? Azeez Ojulari. So maybe if they were friends, that's nice too. And then he's only had really 1 year at FSU. So it's like, is he a one-hit wonder? Is it? No, man, he could play. It's just his path has been a little bit different. I think he's a bigger deal than Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker, from a measurable standpoint, is a freak athlete. He's the freak athlete we're talking about.
So
I think that Walker would be good.
Yeah. So I don't want to take over host or anything like that.
No, go for it.
Yeah, Kevin McWalters just made the point, asked Nick, Walker or Johnson? And I wanted to kind of spark that conversation because you have Hutch and Thibodeau, and then after them, it's kind of Walker and Johnson. And for me, like, Trayvon Walker has all of the physical traits you're looking for, the movement skills, the athletic ability, the length. He's a freak in that manner, but he is incredibly raw. Johnson has a little bit of rawness to his games. He's much more nuanced than Walker is right now. Walker was much more of, I'm just going to try to run through your face. Don't really know what I'm doing. But once somebody coaches me, I have elite type of potential. I think Johnson has incredible potential. I think Walker has a higher ceiling, whereas Johnson probably has a higher floor right now. Yeah. It's tough for me. I think Johnson is the better player right now, but if you were to talk to me in 2 years, I could see a path to where Walker is the better player. So if I'm picking right now, I'm not 100% certain.
So Nick, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Between Walker and Johnson, who is more coaching dependent?
Who is more coach? I think Trayvon Walker probably needs a little bit more coaching than Jermaine Johnson at the moment. I actually have Jermaine Johnson ranked like one percentile higher than Trayvon Walker right now in my rankings for my edges.
I think it depends also to what your game plan is for 2022.
Yes.
If you have like, I've seen Shane a couple times say, look, we're rebuilding, but man, we want to compete, right? We want to compete. We do not want to be the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? So when you bring in Johnson, you compete from day one because you turn him on and you let him go. And then you coach him up, and then you let him go. Walker, to me, is that slow climb to where Nick said that 2 years from now, you may say, wow, where did this guy come from, right? I think it depends on what the philosophy is defensively. Are they running 3-4? Are they running a hybrid? Are they running too high? Are they rushing 2 like Graham used to do? Who knows what Wink's going to do? But if he's going to run like Zane, like you said, give me the corners and I'll scheme up those guys, Walker's going to need a whole lot more scheming because he's not as polished, or polished ain't the word.
It's the reps, really. It's really the reps for Walker.
Yeah, like Walker's going to hit the ground running. I mean, Johnson's going to hit the ground running. You're going to notice Johnson in camp, where Walker may take a little bit longer to get where you want him to go.
So with Walker, you have that crowded Georgia defense, right? That's why he had limited reps. Was he really the guy up? He's rotational, and he has so much success around him. Was the success part of the success around him? We talk about Ojabo this way because of Hutchinson. Is it him? Is it because you played with Hutchinson? Go look at FSU's line. Who else was rocking with Johnson?
All right, wait.
If you can't think of one, then one
Can anybody on this right now, without looking it up, tell me who else is on that FSU defense? But you know this guy. But you know this guy, right? There's a reason he's succeeding regardless of who's around him in the SSC. That says a lot about a player. That's JPP, right? Jason Pierre-Paul was athletic, but it was like, who's this guy on South Florida? Because nobody else. But he's producing. right?
Yeah.
Whereas a
Yeah.
Walker is surrounded by better talent. Again, freak athlete. And Nick's right. In 2 to 3 years, he could be like, holy crap. But Johnson today is going to make you go, oh, okay.
And by the way, perfect example is Justin Tuck, right? Out of Notre Dame. Took that ramp up time, right? With working with what you just said, talent that was better than him at the time. And then when his time was to shine, 2008, 2000, or actually, if you want to go Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl, 2008, 2009, 2011. Like that was Justin Tuck's time, right? Because he had other guys around him, and you needed that opportunity. I'm going to change gears on you guys. Truth, is a quarterback going to be drafted? I know we're not thinking about drafting a quarterback, but I had this debate today with somebody giving up on Jones wholeheartedly and letting Tyrod start. And I said, you know what? If that's the case, then just draft Kenny Pickett in the first round. Why even go through the Jones thing? So really, really quick, Truth. Are the Giants going to draft a quarterback at all this year?
I'm going to say no. My first instinct is no.
Okay. Nick, yes or no? We're going to draft a quarterback this year at all. I don't care what round.
I'm going to go with no as well, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
Zane?
Only
same
round would I
thing.
be.
I wouldn't be shocked. I can see like maybe a 6-round flyer type, can't body, that kind of thing. Sure, but I'm gonna go with no too. I don't really see it.
So what happens if you move back and get you move back with the Steelers at 20, or you move back and you got a bunch of picks and Pickett's sitting there at 20?
If you didn't pick Pickett at 5 or 7, you don't love him anyway. You've already moved on and passed on him, so you don't love him
you
anyway.
didn't pick him at 5 and 7 because you didn't need him at 5 and 7.
Why do I need him at 20? If I don't need it, a quarterback's just that. Quarterback's that position, right? If he's your guy, you don't say, I'll get him later. Either you go get him or you don't. That's my opinion, though. That's me.
That's what happened with Jones.
It's just conversation, right?
I'm with you. I'm just sharing my opinion. That's all.
Yeah, but
if you didn't pick
if you have Delvin Lloyd sitting there with Pickett, you're going to take Pickett over Lloyd?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
All right,
There's
so
plenty
Nick,
of other
where
players
can
that fall into
everybody
that, too.
find?
Yeah,
Where can everybody find you?
First and foremost, I'm taking Willis if I'm picking anybody because his
Willis will be gone.
ceiling is so high. I'm just
Everyone's
generally
already
saying.
riding the 6'1" Liberty. Don't play a lot of competition. Only throw for 2,800 yards. Can't make it at Auburn quarterback. They're already in there. They're already in there. Hey, look, it's only 2,800 yards.
What a salesman,
It's
Craig.
only
What a
Liberty,
salesman.
And he looks great in shorts. He looks great and throws 67 yards in shorts. But when he gets reps in a real game for the Senior Bowl game, he runs for 6 straight times. But he's going to be the best thing since Michael Vick.
That'd be great. Michael Vick was good.
Come on, man. All you guys get all caught up in these intangibles like Johnny Manziel and RG3.
Who here was on Johnny Manziel or Baker Mayfield? It wasn't me.
Okay, who? Maybe not us as Giants fans, but how many first round? EJ Manuel. I can give you Haskins, Trubisky. Everybody falls in love with a quarterback in shorts.
That's true. That's 100% true.
That's fair.
People are looking at Malik. Like I like the idea of Malik Willis, but if you go and you watch some of his film, there are interceptions on there where you're like,
this guy can come on my show anytime after saying that. Anytime. Because 9 out of 10 people don't watch the film. And
we know that's what Nick does, and that's why he's here, man. Go check out his big guns again.
Same with the Truth, man. The Truth gets it. But I will say, like people are like shocked that he's throwing the ball really well, and what did you expect? Like, we knew he had a big arm. Like, that was always confirmed. So that's not something that really jumps out to me as something that makes me want him more than what I did after you watch him on Saturdays. I think there's a lot to like about Malik Willis.
Yeah,
but in terms of the New York Giants, in terms of the New York Giants right now, like, I don't know if that's the most prudent thing. But I do love the kid's character and his makeup, and reportedly his personality is very infectious.
So Charlie says the Syracuse defense worked Willis. I'm good on all that person. Hey, look, I like the kid, and he has a lot to offer. All I'm saying is it looks great in shorts, right? It looks great in shorts. Oh, what's he looking at out there?
What we got?
Oh, I got a boxer.
Hey, he's awesome.
He's a bulldog, actually. He's not a. He's
bulldog.
Look I'm sorry. It was just too cute. I had to do that.
No, it's all good, man.
He's
all
part of the
good.
family, though.
Look,
That's all right. That's part of the nation.
Exactly. Listen, you guys, Nick, where can these people find you?
Yeah, so everyone can find me on Twitter at Nick Falato. That's Falato. It's tagged right there if you guys are watching on the YouTube. A lot of my work is on Big Blue View. It's the SB Nation Giants site. I also do a lot of work for Patricia Trena for Sports Illustrated Giants Country. And my podcast is Big Blue Banter Podcast with myself and CBS's Dan Schneier. And I also do podcast work with Big Blue View Radio.
Shout out to Dan Schneier. He's been on the show before, too. You
we
can
had
check it out on the website.
Dan,
We have fun with him.
Yeah, Dan's always great. And now that we've got the partner on, we got the other half, the dynamic duo. We'd love to have you back. I appreciate it. It's probably my fault. I should have reached out sooner. So that's on me. But thanks for hanging out with us. You're watching another episode of the Giants Guys, YouTube, Twitter, all your podcast platforms. This will be up there tomorrow. Pepper Johnson in 2 weeks. We have the Rush Draft Show offensive lineman, right?
Yeah, we're going to try to make it this weekend if we can. So we'll just
Thursday,
check us out.
Tomorrow, you have the Rush Draft Show. And then, of course, for all you people out there, don't forget, we're picking 20 of our favorite Twitter followers who engage us on a regular basis are going to be on our live draft show because we're going to draft live for 3 straight days. Nick, Zane, The Truth, thanks, guys, for tuning in. And we're OUT out. Peace.
Appreciate you guys. Be good.